Hello and welcome back to the table for some Fulcrum Leader. I know folks have asked me quite a few weeks ago to cover this game, and I said that I would, and I thank everybody for their patience. Even the designer himself reached out to me. I told him I was definitely covering the game, and then of course I haven't for a while. Things just happen, life happens. Europa Universalis 5 came out, and I did a playthrough of that. That game is near and dear to my heart, and so I have put in a lot of hours playing that game already. But I'm taking a break from all that and getting to this, and so we're gonna do a playthrough. Now, Fulcrum Leader, there's some caveats, some things to get out of the way. The first one, the biggest one, being that all leader games are very similar. So the trepidation I have is it's real easy to skim the rule book because it's like, yeah, I know this. And then there's something in there that's brand new for this particular series, and I miss it. So I just want to get my pre-apologies out there. It's not intentional on my part. I am very much a leader veteran here who is playing a new one for the first time, and it is possible I'm going to get a few things wrong just because I either misunderstood one of the new things or completely missed it. So feel free to comment, just be kind. That's all I ask. The next thing is I've made this very clear in the Eagle Leader playthrough. I'm not a fan of playing on the Russian side. It's something I'm going to get over because I think that this game is a good game. It's just I'm very unfamiliar. Like I've definitely shot down fulcrums and floggers and et cetera, but I don't know those planes like I know an F-15 versus an F-16. They're going to be a little harder for me to root for. Let's just put it that way. But we're going to give it a go, and I'm not going to whine about it too much more. I promise. This game, like I said, I really like some of the direction that it took. It is a leader game at its core, but it did try to do new things, which is what made me attracted to it. So we're going to dive in and get into those new things. One of the new things we're not going to get to cover right now, which is the Interceptor expansion. This game actually has like a whole expansion that has a whole new set of rules. You're either playing the Interceptor game or you're playing the regular game. So we're not doing the Interceptor game. I know some folks might ask me to do it. And you know what, maybe we will give it a try. I just want to play the regular game first. So I want to make sure I'm comfortable with this and the rules. One of the major things that this brings to the table is the idea of the Zampolet card. And I'm sorry, my cord is stuck, but there we go. So those Zampolet cards, we're going to actually have the Zampolet is a Russian leader who is like a political leader that's with us to make sure that we don't get out of line politically, even though we're trying to militarily accomplish a mission. So sometimes the political objective will line up with what our military objective is, and sometimes it won't. So that adds an interesting aspect to the game. We'll see how that plays out. I'm curious with it. And it also adds another dimension for strategy, not all of which I have fully thought through yet. The other thing is it adds the concept of a ground GCI, which is it's basically an ECM jammer from the ground. It's sort of like an AWACS. But they do actually give you AWACS-style planes as well. So it's an interesting concept. The rules, basically you're going to be able to pick your 12 squad aircraft if you're playing a long campaign, which we always do. And then in addition to that, you get to pick one of these GCI crews. So I think I'm really looking forward to. I like that kind of stuff when they add new things and it's realistic new things. Like, why wouldn't the air be coordinating with the ground units? Why wouldn't they? I like that a lot. So they do have the concept of ECM jammers in this game. Some planes have the ECM built in, which is different. And here's an example. So this plane here, this pilot, has an ECM value of 8, which basically means if I roll an 8 or better, I jam whatever missile's shooting at me. So that's something new. But there's also planes that do ECM jamming on top of that. So, like, a couple of things I know I got to get my mind around is, okay, if I'm ECM jamming with my regular plane, does it stack with the ECM jamming from these other planes? And then I have ECM jammers on the ground. Are all these stacking together, or is one distinct from the next? It's in the rulebook, folks. I'm just letting you know those are the things that I'm wrestling with as I'm setting this up. Lastly, I even tried rehearsing it, and I'm not good at it at all. But I do not have the ability to do a Russian accent, because it would be so much better to be able to say Mother Russia wants you to do this, with the horrible. I can't do it. So the jokes are not going to be as good because I can't pull it off. But one of the jokes I did have is that we have all these campaigns that came with the game. There's quite a few. I mean, there's at least a dozen in my hand here. These are all campaigns that we will never play. And the reason being is the number of days of the long campaign is less than the allotted and allowed amount of baths and hot water that the Mother Russia would give our people. So these are just, their campaigns are too short. I don't like short campaigns, so they're out. So you might be thinking, well, geez, you just eliminated over a dozen campaigns. But let's look at the ones that are in. This is what's in, and this is at least double or triple. It's triple. It's triple the amount of the other ones. There's easily 30 here. So there's a whole bunch that do have sufficiently long campaigns. So there's no shortage of fun, if you will. And then, as mentioned previously, there's this Interceptor expansion, and so it has some as well. And so we'll be setting those aside. I can't do anything with the Interceptor at the moment, but it is interesting, and I know I'm curious about it, but I want to stay focused. Lastly, I think I chose this one, not because of any particular reason. I just chose it. It's a 12-day campaign. We'll start with this one. I think it was because the, where's the difficulty rating? It is a skilled. So maybe we can choose one that's just average for my first game. But I was thinking of choosing this one. Let's just put it that way. But here's the thing I wanted to point out. The key thing is that the Bandit Cup in Hornet Leader and Eagle Leader is all the bandits just go in a cup. So no matter which mission you do, you just draw from the same Bandit Cup. It's very easy to set up. You just take your baggie of bandit chips and just pour it in the cup, and you're done. But this has a very distinct bandit list. So I have to go through that stack of bandit chips and find only these ones and create a cup from that. It's quite a chore, folks, and it makes me not look forward to setting up this game. But I will say, from a positive perspective, it's going to make each campaign feel unique and different because you could really tweak the difficulty of the campaign by controlling, the bandits. Okay, so with that in mind, I do need to pick a campaign, so let's do that. I liked the Seizing the Straits one, but let's go with something that's standard. Just because, if I start to get the hang of this game, I don't want to do a hard one right away. Because, I'm going to save that for... Now, there is a introductory one here called Able Archer North. I don't know if I want to do an introductory. That sounds too easy. But we'll do a standard one. There's an Above the Arctic. There's Baltic Intervention. That one actually looks pretty cool. That's 12 days. 12 days. Yeah, a lot of 12-day ones. Neutralizing NATO. Nope. Able Archer South. Standard. Sino-Vietnam War. That looks like an expansion one. And then Checkerboard, also an expansion one. Montrose Ghost. Settling Old Scores. There's a lot of them. Right? Let's just leave it at that. There's a Able Archer Atlantic one. Looks really, really cool. But I think it's a... it might be a naval-only mission. I mean, there's... Let me show you this one. This is an interesting looking one. So it's called Able Archer Atlantic here. It's a standard difficulty. But look at the standard weapons. There's only 3 weapons in the entire game. Rockets, which don't... R-60s. I have no idea. I don't know my Russian munitions worth anything. And then it looks like Fab 100, 250, 500, which I'm assuming is just like the marks on the American side. So those are just your iron bombs. So iron bombs and R60s. That's it. And then special weapons, there's a few more, right, that it's allowing. And then, of course, you got your threats there. And yeah, those are, a lot of them are naval. So it's a very naval-specific one. It looks cool, but I don't want to start with a naval one either. So let's start with this one, Baltic Intervention. I hope it's not too rough. It's a 1991, so we're going to get some nice munitions from it. The bourgeois dictatorship has seized power in Vilnius, and their rot threatens to spread to the rest of the Baltic states unless we act before the UN and NATO can intervene. So there's some special rules here. We'll get to those in a second. The big thing is I got these standard weapons that are going to be available to us. I got to get those out. There's the specials, which again, I don't know what these are. I mean, I can tell that the KABs look like the iron ones. The R's look like missiles or maybe even radar ones. I don't know, but I gotta learn. None of these, like I can look at the American ones and say, oh, I know what that is. I know what that is. I don't know what any of these are. And then as far as like the, like here you can see that we got, I mean, those are F-16s. Bombers, some SAMs. Yeah, I mean, there's some decent stuff here. So we can try this one. The other thing that's neat about it is we start here, Zone 1. Now, it doesn't list it on the campaign, but it does very specifically state in the rules that when you go to Zone 2, that's going to be 1 stress. And then this is going to be 2 stress. Every band beyond your start band where you're located is going to be additional stress. So to do these missions here is going to be 2 stress. It's not written anywhere. The other leader games do write it on the thing, which that's an interesting deviation that they did that, but it is in the rules. So there's no ambiguity. It's just that it's less information on the card. Now, what they also added, though, is see these circles and squares and diamonds. Those are additional stress. So a circle it says 0 stress. So it sort of insinuates that if I do mission 36 here, I'm not going to take any stress. But that's not true. I'm going to be going 1 band in, which is going to be 1 stress. It's not written here, but I'm going to get 1 stress because I'm 1 band out. And then this just adds 0 more, is all that's saying. Here you got the square. So it's going to be 2 stress to just get here. And then that's going to add a 3rd. And then this is a diamond, which is going to add 2 more. So I'm going to take 4 stress to do these 3 diamonds. Now, the one thing that is interesting is, like, for example, they do expressly state that you can't bring your GCI on these missions. Okay, fair enough. look, because it's really far away. So that's one thing. The other one is you get extra bonus experience points for doing these, so that's always cool. And it still very clearly says what your waypoint penalty is. And then all targets have the nuclear trait, which is a new thing in the game. I got to get my arms around that as well. But anyways, a lot of extra setup because you have to do this. So that's going to take some time. I'm not going to make you watch me do that. I just wanted to introduce the game and express that that's the campaign we're going to start with. It's a standard one. And I don't know what I don't know so far. But there's definitely a lot of new concepts, and we'll dive into those together. This is my first playthrough of this game, so I'm not... I'm coming to you as a veteran of leader games. I'm not coming to you as a veteran of this particular game. But we'll learn it and then react to it together. And lastly, Mr. Glover, the designer of this game, did reach out to me on Board Game Geek. And I'm very appreciative of that. And I can't promise him I'm not going to criticize the game. But if I do, I'm going to promise him I'm at least going to criticize it with why I think it could be better. But with that said, one of the things that could have been better is the section on how is this leader game different than the others. I really felt that that was an opportunity to really go over those rules that I'm terrified that I'm missing. It does highlight at a high level that changes are coming, and it's in these various areas. So I'm not, it's not a pure criticism. It's just that it could have been better. Solely because I really am. I want to dive in and go, and now I have to go through the whole rule book to find those things that that I'm missing. But another thing that's really interesting about this one is that there's specifically Navy tokens. So if you're fighting like a naval ship, these are the bandit tokens you would draw. You know, they represent the anti-air turrets and etc. that would be on a ship. There was a person who gave me feedback in the Eagle Leader playthrough telling me that I was supposed to be drawing my Navy tokens. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I think he was getting the two games cross-wired there. He was the same guy that told me I bitch too much. So anyways, if he's still out there, just want him to know that I do remember him bitching to me about using naval tokens in a game that didn't have any. So I am stressing that intentionally. Okay, so with that said, let's jump in and play. I'm a little excited about this, and I'm going to go ahead and hit pause, and we will set it up and get going. Okay, so this has been challenging. There's a couple of things. The first one is for the threats. It says 8 heavy machine guns. I don't know if the camera's going to focus very well for you there. Come on, focus, focus. For me, it's very blurry, looking through the camera. I'm trying to make sure it looks clear for you guys. So maybe I gotta just move it further away, or can I get it nice and close? Come on, bud. There. Looks good there, doesn't it? Yes. Okay, so 8 heavy machine gun with a Mirage on the other side. Man pads with a Draken, which, by the way, that's an expansion. Took me forever to figure out that that was actually in an expansion pack. So those tokens were elsewhere. I hadn't punched them yet. So I was getting very frustrated. I couldn't find them. These light anti-air with F-16 or no bandit on the other side. I was able to find 8 of those. And then it says 6. That number is 6 no sight, no bandit. So what you see here is you see the 6 no sight, no bandits here. These are the light aircraft with no bandit or an F-16 on the other side. So those are all good. These are the heavy machine guns, and there's different flavors, but they all say Mirage on the other side. Mirage 3s, Mirage 4s, I think there's even a Mirage 5. And then these are the ones from the expansion. These are man pads, which there's lots of man pads in the game. It's just these ones have the Draken on the other side, which is the, I believe that's a Swedish plane, even though that looks like a Norway, or not a Norway, but a Denmark flag. Anyways, I was able to find them all. And that's the entire Bandit Cup right there. Doesn't seem like an awful lot, does it? And so if you're wondering, like, okay, you know, sometimes you want to figure out what's the no bandits. I mean, these are for sure no bandit. There's 6 of those. Some of these, the other side is a no bandit. But I'm going to flip them over for you. And it's only 2 of them. So everything else has a bandit on the other side. These are all Drakens, so there's going to be a whole bunch of those. And then these are the F-16s, these 4, and then these are all Mirages. So we got a bunch of French planes. So that's going to make up the Bandit Cup. Now the part that confused me, and I spent a long time trying to look up, I read the rule book, and it gave me no guidance. And I'm sorry, I know it sounds like I'm complaining about the game, but it was the bottom. So here is my understanding. I could be wrong. We're going to start playing with my understanding. If some of you know, you can clarify. If you're the guy who tells me to stop bitching, you're muted, so you can type all you want, but nobody's going to see it, including me. But everybody else, you're welcome to give me some feedback. But see, it says Tech Bomber, and then there's a solid line. So this is like slashes. So I automatically know that this is one side of the chip, that's the other side. But here it just says Tech Bomber and then F-16, or Strat Bomber, Tornado, and so forth, right? So my understanding is that if the target card says add 2 Tech Bombers, I would add 2 F-16s to the targets. This would be like an objective. Like the bottom of a target card would have an objective that says, you know, put 2 first-line fighters and 1 second-line fighter out there. And so I'd put 2 F-16s and 1 Draken. That's what my understanding of it is that this is just telling you that if the game tells you or references any of these key words, this is what it actually translates into. So I don't think I put any of them in the cup. I think they're just supposed to be like, if the situation calls for it, I would pull one of these out. Now, there are tornado objective tokens, and here's what I mean by that. So there's, in the game, oh no, no, I didn't. Whew. In the game, there are some bandit look-at tokens that are really just, so like, see this here? This is a, what is that? That's a B1. So it's a bomber, right? And then the other side is just 2 B1s, right? Well, there are tornadoes in here. So it's there's a tornado, and then the other side is 2 tornadoes. So, like, if the game's calling for a tornado, I can definitely grab one out of here and use it. I didn't see an F-16 in here, but I didn't look super close. Like, I could go through one by one, but I was just trying to, you know, glance through, because there's quite a few in here. Maybe one of these is an F-16. I just missed it. Otherwise, I have F-16s here. I guess I could use those. Same with the Drakens. I have those here, because I don't have any actual bomber tokens. I call these bombers, but they're really objective tokens. There's no Drakens in this either. So if I had to pull a Draken, these are the only ones there are, because that came in expansion number 6, by the way. There were none in any of the other expansions. So the only place that has the Draken jet is expansion 6. And these are the only tokens that have Drakens written on them. So if it tells me that I need to do a second line fighter, I guess it means I'm just pulling a Draken out of my cup. And then I'll pull one of these F-16s for a first line. And then the Tornado one, the Tornado IDS, I am clueless. I have no idea what that's referring to. And I guess I'm a little surprised to be so stumped so early in the process, but the rule book is not clear at all. It did say take these objectives, put them in the cup, and then take these other objectives and just set them to the side. So I think what it means is that these are the other objectives that I'm supposed to set to the side, but where's the Tornado IDS? Like, where would I find that from? I have no clue. I'm assuming it's the tornadoes that I grabbed out of the cup. Since it's a bomber, I looked for it in my bomber objective cup, and that's where I found some tornadoes. But it doesn't say Tornado IDS on it. It just says tornado. So again, maybe I'm being too much of a stickler for what specifically it says, but I don't have any guidance on where to find these. And to be quite frank, I really think that objective tokens should be a different color. They shouldn't be bandit colored. I know that they look like bandits, but they don't behave like bandits at all. You don't ever put them in the bandit cup. They should be a different color. They should just be something else. But anyways, that's me just being idealistic. So I struggled mightily with this, but you see I have it in front of me. I think from there we're good to go. The next thing is the instructions. So Zone 1 targets go into the target deck at start. Zone 2 and 3 only when no-fly zone is active per the ops track. Now in the ops track there's a UN no-fly here. So 2 and 3 targets don't arrive until that happens. Okay? And then it says at the end of the day when missions in Zone 1 had munitions fail to either suppress or inflict one or more hits, move the ops track one space to the right. So here's how I understand it. If I fail to even suppress or hit one target, because I either go home or I fail to do whatever, then this is going to move to the right. And it gets progressively worse. And only when it gets to no-fly are these extra zones going to be added. So basically, my understanding is the war is going to happen here. And only if things escalate and I'm failing to hit my targets, these targets and then these targets get added. I'm liking this mission less, to be quite honest, now that I know this, because that extra experience point and that extra experience point are not eligible unless this thing moves to the right. And it requires, from my understanding, catastrophe. Like, I would have to attack a target and fail to hit it. Like, it doesn't even say I have to destroy the target. It just says fail to hit the target. Like, I don't know if I've ever played a game where I failed to hit a target. I've failed to destroy a target, but I've never experienced failing to hit unless this event deck stinks, which I'm not going to be happy if that's the case. But Fulcrum Leader did that, where your sub just takes so much damage before you even start the mission, and then you have to retreat before it even starts. The other thing is this all by year? It's 1991. It's the entire deck of cards. There's not a single. Well, okay. There's a few planes that are eliminated, but not a lot. So I picked a horrible start one because now I got to go through all the pilots. I was hoping that it was going to narrow down my pilots for me. Look, that's not it's a complaint because it's a lot of work for me, but I'm not complaining about the game design in any way. It's just, I'm realizing I probably should have picked something else. But anyways, so that's my next step is I got to get my aircraft in. Then I have a few other questions. The next one is I have these ships. I can actually have them in my arsenal. Are these the ground ECM? Because these came with the naval expansion. Don't get me wrong. This is not with the base game. And there is a naval expansion. So there's no rules that come with the naval expansion, by the way. So I'm assuming that these are the ground ECM jamming things. Like I get to pick one with my group, right? So I can pick a naval one. And you can see it has an ECM bonus as they level up because they got skill points, right? And this one, ignore events, air-to-air bonus of +1, air-to-ground bonus +1 versus naval. So these ones I think would make more sense if you're going up against naval targets. You can even get a little mini aircraft carrier, which is pretty cool. And eventually, if it levels up, you get bonus versus naval, just like the other one. I actually think they're both aircraft carriers, in fact. So we can have the Kiev or the Minsk. So really cool idea, but I don't know if I could use those. I guess I technically can. I mean, this is a mission where there's at least some visible water. It's just that these ones give me bonuses against naval, which may not be important because most of our targets are not naval in nature. So anyways, it was one of the things that confused me, but I think that these count as that one free ground ECM jamming equipment. The next one that confuses me is that we actually have planes that do jamming. So I'm assuming that that would be one of my 12. And you can see there's like their version of the AWACS, right? So we can get, look at that. That gives bonuses on air-to-air, air-to-ground, ECM. I mean, that's at legendary level, but that's freaking awesome. And it gives 5 SA points. Like, this is an amazing pilot to have. And it doesn't cause any stress or anything. You just get it. So does that count towards, like, is that considered a support craft? Because in the original Hornet Leader, this would not count against your plane limit. I have no idea. So I'm looking up stuff around that. This one here, you take stress. Compared to Eagle Leader, you had stuff like this. They were the F-111s. And every time you use them, you would accrue stress. But the way the rulebook is worded on this one is it says you accrue the stress for the entire over target phase. So if I implement this Fasol +1 stress or the Bouquet, I only have to do it once, and then it's active for the whole time I'm over target, which is all 5 turns. That's the way I understood it, and we can get out the rulebook and read it together, but that's a big deviation from Eagle Leader, where I had to take the stress every single time that I wanted to, jam something. So if that's the way it really works, the stress cost seems really low, although that's legendary. There the stress cost is higher. And it doesn't take much to stress them out. So actually, I think it is correct, to be honest. Because the thing with Eagle Leader is even at the low noob levels, the stress bands were much higher. Like this one here is the 7 to 11. That's at legendary level, but that was at noob levels with the Eagle Leader. So yeah, in this case, if you use both of their skills, you're going to have enough stress that you're going to have to rest in order to be able to come back next mission. So I think that makes sense. And that, I'm assuming, counts towards your 12, along with those AWACS looking planes, which there are other AWACS planes, by the way, but these ones have a date range of 1984. So these Scarabs are more for the older missions. So we'd have to use the newer ones for this. So outside of that, like I said, there's mountains of pilots to choose from. They're all aircraft I'm not very familiar with. It's going to take me a while. So what I'm going to do is, one more thing. The target deck. So the target deck is not very thick. If I have to do 12 days of missions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, there's literally 12 cards. And you can do secondary missions, and are any of them secondary? That's a great question. So we can look. There's one right there. There's a scramble. There's second secondary, third, fourth. There's 5 secondaries in there. So we could technically get to a certain day and there's no targets left. And I guess that would make the thing move to the right, right? Because it says that if you have a day where there's no munitions or suppression or hits, that would make the ops thing move one to the right. And then eventually that's going to open up the other targets. That's a really bizarre, this is a bizarre scenario. So we could theoretically have nothing to go after. And we're just going to have a whole day of just resting as we wait for this ops thing to move to the right. So I'm going to look in the rule book, like what other things move the ops bar. Because that just makes I'm not saying I don't want to do this campaign. It's just maybe I picked a bad one to start for my first game. The idea of having a day where there's no targets available is just weird. But I guess it is possible. The event deck is really large. I have not looked at the events, so we're going to experience those together. So those are shuffled. Then we have these Zampolet cards, which is almost like a second event deck. It's definitely one of the more interesting changes to the game. The SQAs in this are exactly the same as the Eagle Leader. These are planes that you can buy and use just once. But in comparison to Eagle Leader, look at this one. That's 1 SO point to use that plane. Holy crap, that's reasonable. Remember in Eagle Leader, like you're gonna have to pay like 9 to use an average pilot. This one, on the extended range step, which is like the same as like the Phoenix missiles, right? You roll 1d10 and you could cause hits. I don't know against what. I mean, is that against the target or is that against I'm assuming the target. But, so you do this TU-16 Badger Strike. I pay 1 SO and it's just a card I get to use once for my mission. I mean, these are very reasonable. Like, I see myself doing this. Now, here's one that, it's 2. Maybe the odds are a little better on this one. Naval targets only, right? But the key thing, though, is if you remember from Eagle Leader, these things were, one of them was the stealth bomber was what? It was 18 SO points to use it for one mission. I mean, how ridiculous is that? And we said, well, you're just going to use the short cost, which was still more. Like, this one's the most expensive one. It's 4. All radar sites have range reduced by 1 and suffer -1 to attacks. Cannot use on mission where the weight point penalty is 1 or more. I mean, that's a powerful effect, and it's also a veteran. So there's an average one that costs a little bit less. But yeah, I mean, this... I'm rather convinced that the Eagle Leader just had they designed it one way and then they made a change and just never updated the cards. I'm absolutely convinced that that's what happened. It'd be nice if somebody confessed to it and just admitted to it. But anyways, that's my thoughts with that. So yeah, I got to come up with 12. It's just like the other leader games where I'm going to have 1 noob, 2 green, and then I think it's like 6 average, and then I'm going to have 1 veteran and 2 skilled. And the good news is we don't have any aces, so there's none of this shenanigans where I'm going to get like overpowered people from the start. An Eagle Leader already, but I do get to spread the stuff, and then my ground crew is going to start off average per the rules. And it doesn't count as my initial 12. So I'm going to technically have 13 with the ground crew being that 13th one. So I don't have them selected yet. I got to do that. And then, of course, I still need to... I haven't even punched my missiles and stuff. So I'm going to do that as we go. Just because... and I did. I used to have this buddy that would play games where he wouldn't punch anything until the game called for it. And I thought it was the most bizarre way to play, but it's actually quite effective in war games, to be quite honest. It works. So most games I would never consider it, but it does work with war games, and In his case, we were doing it for 18xx games, but I digress. So yeah, we're going to do this campaign. And we got all this stuff here. So we got loyalty, which we'll start right here over the spot that has the highlight. So the arrow is pointing this way. So basically we're starting with no effect. And my understanding is if I move this one to the right, we're going to get -1 stress to all pilots. Then if I make it move one to the left, no effect. And then I make it move one to the right again, I get -1 stress to all pilots again. So if I move it twice to the right, I get +2 SO points. Then I can do -2 stress. And then I can move it back and get 2 SO points. And then I can get -2 stress, move it back for 2 SO points. My understanding of it is I can just move it left or right, and I get whatever it says. So I can get like enough SO points to buy another plane if I wanted. Or even here, look, promote 1 pilot. Remove 2 stress from all pilots. Oh, I'm going to move it back. Promote a pilot again. Am I misunderstanding something, folks? For those of you who have experience, it sounds like I could abuse this a lot in my favor if I wanted to. Like I can manipulate this thing and abuse it to get free promoted pilots out of the deal. And by the way, the pilot I think is synonymous with the ground crew. So if I promote a pilot, I can promote a ground crew. I'm pretty sure that would be another question I have. It does specifically say pilot, but I'm assuming that they are synonymous for purposes of stuff like this. So anyways, that starts there. Then we have so this Zampolit is going to be assigned to a pilot. He's going to actually be the Zampolit, and that's who's going to draw the card and blah, blah, blah. We have the turn, which is going to go over here for the various turns. This is the infrastructure, which starts here on the red tape. And we're starting with 0 hits. And we have the ops, which is starting here. And then we have, this is our target, which is going to go up here. Our intel track, again, these start on the left. So ding, ding, ding. And then we're going to have the flight leader, the Zampolit, and this is the CO, which is commanding officer. So that's another concept. We're going to have a CO as well. Okay, so a lot of these are similar to other leader games, but there's a lot more dials to move here. And the loyalty track is going to move based on, like, we're going to just do a random one here. So this is flavor text up here. I wish I could read it with an accent, but I can't. All pilots on the mission suffer 1 extra stress. If the mission is successful, move loyalty 1 to the right. So this is one where we have no say in the matter. We're going to just get extra stress because the Zampolit is stressing us out. But if we succeed with the mission, then the loyalty is going to move 1 to the right, and we get whatever it says when it moves to the right. And by the way, if it moves to the left, that's -1 SO, that's -2 SO. Like, it gets bad if I let it go to the left. So it's going to be, sometimes you're going to get a choice. Like, you can do it, or you can ignore it and then just let it move to the left. And that's what I mean by, like, I think I can abuse that a little bit. So again, if folks have thoughts on it, just let me know. But yeah, let me pause, get some pilots together here. I'm going to read up on a few more things, and then we'll get started. Okay, I'm still in the middle of doing things, but I found some, the back of the rule book is pretty awesome. It goes over all the different planes, and it even gives you like the NATO name for it. So like right here is the Mainstay and the Moss, which are the 2 AWAC looking planes. Right here in the italicized area, all the rules for them are here, and it shows that it doesn't count against the aircraft limit for a mission, but it is one of your 12 if you take it. And then over here is the Yak 28. It does specify that it's once per turn. So when I take the stress, it's not the entire mission. It's once per turn, just like Eagle Leader, actually. So it's not any different, which is fine. Actually, it would have been more confusing that it's different between the two games. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And there were a couple other spots, just going through them in no particular order. When it says ECM on the plane, it's a built-in ECM. And if you take an ECM pod, which you're allowed to do, even if it has an ECM number on it, you could just use the better of the two. But you only get to do it once. So you don't ECM roll twice. You're just picking the better of your two ECMs and going with it. The other thing is, if you do have a ground control, man, I gotta remember the name of those things. But the ground ECM jammers, those are adding like +1, +2. So you still need to have an ECM pod to take advantage of the ground control. So if you have a plane with no ECM built in or an ECM pod equipped, then the ground control ECM bonus is nothing. You don't get to do that. So if you want to use your ground control, you're going to have an ECM pod equipped. I mean, you guys know me. If you've watched any of my other playthroughs, ECM pods are a must. You take the waypoint hit every time. Also, I haven't mentioned, but there's skills in this game. A lot of them are very similar to Eagle Leader, but not all of them. And the Zampolet gets his own special skills that's just for him. So that adds another level of complexity and coolness, if you will, because there's some strategy there, and I don't know what the right strategy is, but I'd have to look it up, but I think it's just like the other game. It's going to cost 3 SO points per skill, and each pilot is only allowed to have 2 skills equipped. So unlike the other game, I don't think there's pilots that have skills built into them or anything like that. I'll check as I go through them. But anyways, on to selecting the pilots here. It's a very arduous, long process. Eagle Leader was even worse, to be honest with you. Eagle Leader had, I think I counted, it was like 250 pilots. I think this game doesn't quite have 250, but it's up there. It's at least over 100. So, yeah, it's going to be a while. Anyways, that's my update based on the rules and everything I saw. I will be back. All right, so I am still picking my pilots. It is an arduous task, but the standard weapons really restricts. Some of the pilots I can't choose at all because they do not carry those standard weapons. So for example, this is a fish bed, and you can see there, it's got a bunch of R's, so I'm learning that the R's are anti-air. So there's 4 flavors of anti-air missiles, or air-to-air missiles, if you will. And then the KH-23 is a bomb, and the KH-25 and the 25 MP is another type of bomb. And the KH-25 is your anti-radar bomb, the MP at least, you can see there. And then, so that's like the AGM-88s. And then the KH-25 and 23, it's one side or the other. So this is the 23. It's a very crappy 2-weight bomb that only hits with an 8. And if I flip it over, that's your anti-vehicle bomb. And then there's, of course, the iron bombs, which are what's listed along the top there. So for the most part, we're going to be using iron bombs. The KH-23 is just total rubbish. I don't even know how it's better than an iron bomb, to be honest with you. It hits with an 8. Oh, you could launch it when you're high altitude. Maybe that's the reason. So it's like a extremely horrible Maverick. And the other side is a Maverick from Hornet Leader, because if you recall, Eagle Leader took away the... Oh no, they always had the vehicle. They took away the dispersion. And anyways, getting back on point. You have pilots like this. This is let me zoom out a little. This is a fish bed, and you can see there on the right that it goes to 1991, which is what our scenario is. we're going to gain 9 SO points if I take this pilot. So they're acknowledging that this is not a pilot that is the best. And if you'll notice there, it says 2 weight points. That's horrible. Like, if you take a pilot like this, you're taking it for the SO points, and you're really not going to use them. But here's what makes it even worse. Okay, what can he equip? He can equip those Rs, 35 and 13. And I'm telling you, and Mr. Glover, if you're watching, I hope you'll find this comical. But when I read these R numbers, I keep thinking that we're talking about radial pressure for tires on cars. Because I got an R13 or R35, back tire. Anyways, sorry for the sidetrack. The 35 and 13 is not even available for this mission. So even if I wanted to take this guy, I can't equip those. I can, though. The KH-23 is available, but that's the crappy one we just talked about. It's like the poor man's Maverick, with none of the benefits of a Maverick, other than you can just shoot it high. So anyways, you can take an unguided 500 kilogram or less, which I'm assuming the 500 kilogram, now this is kilograms instead of pounds, so there might be some translation difference there. But usually the single weight bomb is the 250 pounder. The 500 pounder is a double weight bomb. And I'm just looking real quick. What do they call them? They call them the CABs or FABs. It's the FAB bombs. Of course, now I can't find it. There's not that many sheets. It's the very last one I look at, apparently. Yeah. All right, so the FAB, remember, these are kilograms and not pounds. So here you can see the FAB 250, for example, is a single weight point, 7/10 to hit. I mean, it's not that much different than our bombs, and for a single weight point, that sounds about right. That's the FAB 250, and so I can go up to FAB 500 according to this. So yeah, 500 kilograms or less. And now, unguided is the key word. Unguided is just that U. If you're wondering, okay, how do I know what an unguided one is? Just look for the U. That's unguided. And here's the FAB 500. So that's a 2 weight point bomb. Hits with a 5, 7, or 10. So this particular pilot, that would be his entire weight points. He wouldn't even be able to equip an ECM jammer. He can also take rockets. And RN-28, which I don't know what an RN-28 is, but it's not in this mission, so I'm not going to bother looking that up at this point. So, what I'm trying to get at then is some of the pilots just can't equip. Here's another one, which I did later figure out as part of the Interceptor expansion, which makes sense. But there's these MiG-31 Foxhounds. They look like awesome planes. They have 12 weight points. More awesomeness. And it says there at the bottom that they come with 4 R-33s and 2 R-40s, or 4 R-33s and 4 R-60s. And none of those, by the way, are available to us in this particular mission. But the 12 weight points is what was making me drool. I was like, man, I just love planes with 12 weight points. But this is for these came with the Interceptor campaign. And so I think that they're used specifically for those, I'm sorry, I meant to say expansion. It's for those campaigns. And because the Interceptor is dealing with long range, fighting over the North Pole, stuff like that. So I'm assuming that those, well, anyways, getting to my original point, those are out. I can't use them because they only equip munitions that aren't available. So that does eliminate a bunch. These guys here with the 2 weight points that we just talked about, out, right? I might take one if I just need to get a bonus of 9 SO points, which this gives me. And I do not go with my flags. That's either what, Poland or Czechoslovakia? Anyways, I would get 9 SO points if I take this guy. Now, there's another one. It's called a fish bed. Same one, it's just a fish bed C instead of a fish bed F. So it's a Soviet version, and I only get 6 SO points, and it's just as bad, 2 weight points. So I guess I'm giving feedback just because I know the designer reached out to me. These should give you 9 SO points just like the other ones do. Now I understand. Here's the difference. This one only goes up to 1972, whereas this one goes all the way to 1991. However, they almost overlap. This one goes back to 1960. This one only goes back to 1968. So technically, if you have anything earlier than 1968, you're stuck taking this one for 6 SO points. But if it's after 1968, you always want these for 9 SO points. Why not? You get 3 extra SO points for the same exact type of pilot. My feedback was originally going to be why have the 2 different values, but I see that the date range is different. So that justifies it. So anyways, the fish beds, which goes back to 1970, like so, and you'll notice that there's different country flags on these. So I think some of them come with different expansions. Like these ones look like Bulgaria, Romania ones. These are all the fish bed variety though, J, F, C, and then I have another one here that's an N. But the JFs and Cs, which constitute that many cards, they're all 2 weight point junk. If you take one, you're going to get SO points for it. But I'm going to just set them all aside. So I might take one for the SO points, like I said. But for now, they're junk because they only carry 2 weight points. I mean, it's not even worth the slot. Now, there's one more fish bed in the game. It's called the fish bed N, which you can see is 1972 to 91. You still gain SO points, not nearly as much, only 3 in this case. But you'll notice the weight point is 4. So if you did want to gain SO points and at least have something that's practical, this one's a little better. It still carries a bunch of stuff that doesn't apply to this mission. But as far as fish beds go, that's got the better weight. The SO points aren't as good, but that's the entire fish bed lineup. Now here's another one that came in an expansion. I don't remember which one, but I looked at these and I just laughed. I will never ever want to use these, and they only give you 6 SO points. But let me share these with you. They're called the Farmer. The J6 Farmer. Look at this nonsense. 1 weight point. I mean, maybe there's a campaign, because like some of these campaigns restrict which pilots you can have. So like if I do the Seizing the Straits one here, see, look, it's SU-27, SU-24, M, and MP, right? Those are the only aircraft you can use for the entire campaign. So you gotta load up with only those. That changes things a lot, right? And I surely hope that the standard weapons up here are compatible. I'm gonna really flip my lid if they're not, but I'm going to assume that they are. So that's a particular mission where you have very specific aircraft, and it does say no SO cost, which I'm assuming it's because those are nice aircraft and you normally have to pay to get them, but in this case you don't. So there's some campaigns where they restrict which planes you can have. So are there any campaigns that restrict you to the Farmer, which is the J8, or the Fish Bed, which is the MiG-21 BS? Yeah, that BS stands for bull, you know what I mean. BIS. It still stands for it, though. All right, so let's go. I'm just going to look real quick at the campaigns here and see if there's any that require the J8 or the BIS. Because I'm telling you, that mission, well, here's when it needs a J6, a J7, and a Q5. So it's Vietnam War stuff. The J7, ooh, those are horrible. the Q5, like that might be a tough mission. So the J7s are 5 weight point guys. This is the Sino-Vietnam War campaign. So see there, it says J6, J7, and Q5. So I spotted the J7. I don't know what the J6 and... So that would explain some of this. Or no, yeah, right there. Yeah, J6 is the 1 weight point guys. So that's 1/3 of the planes you're allowed to have for that mission. So J6, the J7, it's called the Fish Can and the Farmer. And then the Q5 is the 3rd one. Which one is the Q5? I don't remember. Oh, here we go. The Q5 is the Fantan. So here you go. These are more reasonable. These are the Q5s. You can see there's 6 weight points on those. And I'm looking, it looks like the J6s, yeah, none of them have, they carry these PL2, PL5s. They all use the same types of weapons. So anyways, these 3 sets of pilots are from the Vietnam expansion. So it's making more sense to me now. Because like I'm looking at these and I'm like, boy, these are worthless pilots. But if you take that Vietnam expansion, those are the only planes allowed. And that makes total sense. And they have a special star here. So then you could see the, there's also the checkerboard one, right, that uses those same pilots. So I totally get it now. I jumbled all my campaign sheets together. And now I'm looking at all my my pilots and I'm thinking, holy crap, like, why would anybody choose this pilot? And now it makes sense. So I'm going to set those ones aside, the Vietnam ones, because we're not going to do those right now. And there was another group of pilots here, and there's a big stack. These are like the Harriers in Hornet Leader. And I'm like, why would anybody choose these? These are the Yak 38s. We fight against a lot of those in Hornet Leader and Eagle Leader. There was a bunch. And they were always easy to take down, and now I understand why. So anyways, you gain SO points. It's only 4 weight points. And they're almost identical to the concept of the Harriers. And I was thinking to myself, man, those really suck too. But look at this. There's a campaign here called Able Archer Atlantic. That's the only plane you can use, is the Yak 38. So you're doing the whole campaign where you're restricted to just that pilot and nothing else. So I'm learning, folks, that some of these are very restrictive, and that alone is going to be why some of the missions are going to be harder. And some of these do say all by year, like the one I currently have, which is cool because I want one that says all by year. I like the freedom of choice more than I like the restricted stuff. But that's not to say that those restricted ones can't be fun. I mean, it could be a nice challenge. But again, because this is my first game, I don't want to challenge myself too much, at least not yet. So, yeah, you have some planes that look miserably horrible, but there are campaigns that are designed specifically for them. So it makes the fact that they're in the game a little more reasonable. Because the hardest part is when they put stuff like that in the game, and then it's like, why would I ever choose this plane? This at least helps that they have the special campaigns. Anyways, okay, and then getting back to the interceptor concept. Remember, those were the MiG-31s, and sure enough, right here, see Arctic interceptors. Right there's the MiG-31, the one that we were just drooling over. And sure enough, if you look up here, it's going to have the R60 and the R40 and I think whatever the other R1 is that they use. So yeah, it lines up. But man, oh man, I was so excited about them until I realized that I can't use them. And it's just because of the 12 weight points. I mean, come on, 12 weight points is awesome. You can go on any mission with those. Now there's another one that's really cool, and it's these SU-24 MPs. You do have to pay SO points. So they only have 4 weight points, and they take 4 R60s. So they automatically come with those. And look, they have the Fasol and Landish. These are the jammer planes, like the F-111s from the Eagle Leader. And so they have like, they're anti-air and they can do some of the jamming stuff, which is really, really cool, except R60s aren't in our mission. So I can't bring those along. Now we have those jammer planes right here. These, they're called the Brewer. See, and they have the Fasol, Bouquet, and Serena, which are a little different. That other one has Fasol and Landish. And I don't know if any of them have Landish, no. So Landish is unique to just that one plane. And I don't know what any of those are because they're Russian words, but I did bookmark this because there is no player aid that should have said those things. But it is clearly in the rulebook. You just got to flip to page 61. Landish is Lily of the Valley. Subtract 1 from all enemy die rolls that are targeting any aircraft in the area. Additionally, subtract 1 more for any that's targeting the aircraft itself. So that's very similar to ones we used before. But see, those only exist for the SU-24s. The Brewers don't have that. They have the Fasol, the Bouquet, and the Serena. Serena is subtract 1 targeting the aircraft in the area, including itself. It applies to Sight and Bandit. So Serena, the lilac, is what it stands for, is almost identical. It's just you don't get to do 1 more if they're targeting the aircraft itself. So that's interesting. And then the Bouquet, which is bouquet. That's good. Yeah, I like that. It's actually similar. All radar sites have their attack range reduced by 1. That's cool. Then Fasol is beans. Hawk sites have their range reduced to 0. There's no hawk sights in this game, in this campaign, by the way. Those are specific sight tokens that you can draw. But that's interesting how they target specifically hawk sights. A hawk sight, I mean, there was tons of them in here. And now I'm trying to grab one and I can't find one. That's how it always works, isn't it? Come on. Here's one. So that's a hawk sight. Look, they got a -1 on them, so that means they're harder to kill too. So these must be pretty modern. And so anyways, what that does is that specifically targets the hawk sights and just reduces their range to 0, which that can be cool. It's just those aren't in this particular mission. So that's probably not as attractive of a thing. But that's the beans one, Fasol. And I can remember that because I got an Italian family background. We have pasta Fasol all the time. And I don't know if they pronounce it exactly the same, but, you know, Fasol is beans. It's a bean pasta soup, really. But anyway, it's like a bean soup. All right, so with that ethnic lesson aside, you know, going through, there's another set of pilots that, now these ones look absolutely worthless, but again, maybe, you know, there's certain campaigns that require it because we just verified this. The MiG-19s are horrible. 1 weight point. And they don't even carry anti-air. They're just, they basically just drop 1 bomb. So you can gain 9 SO points with these guys as well. So if you want to waste a slot, these are definitely the ones to pick up. You know what? Maybe wasting a slot, like taking 12 of them might be too many. But I'm just saying that as far as like gameplay purposes goes, I don't want any of them. And then we have a whole stack of, we already talked about these. These are the fish bed ones. Those ones were okay. That's right. Those are the other ones that had the SO point advantage. And then I set aside the Vietnam ones. Okay, now that narrows our stuff. So what do I got going on? I got 3 stacks over here. I have some stacks here and more over here. So the big stack, the one that you see me with the cards sideways and frontways, these are all the MiG-29's Fulcrums. Every single one of them is a Fulcrum A. The reason why I put them in 2 different piles is these are the Russian ones and these are the Warsaw Pact ones, so other countries. The game rules say that you can mix them. There's no big deal. I didn't know if there was a difference in statistics on them. And so far, they all seem to have 6 weight points. Of course, these stats at the bottom are going to change, but I don't think there's any difference between them. Even the year should be exactly the same, 84 to 91. And so I was just hesitant to mix them together, but I think they're all one and the same. So, like when you have Eagle Leader, the most dominant pilot in the game is the F-15 Eagle. Well, this is your Fulcrum, right? Because it's Fulcrum Leader, right? So here you go. There's all the Fulcrums that are in the game. Tons and tons of them. And remember, every pilot has 3 cards. So, but yeah, it's still a whole bunch of Fulcrums. So we got a bunch of Fulcrum A's. And then we have a Fulcrum C. Apparently there's no B. See, I don't know my Russian planes. I'm just, noticing that there's no B in there. But anyways, the Fulcrum C is the same amount of weight points, but you have to pay to get these. The only thing I notice that's different between them, well, there might be other differences, but these ones come with an ECM built in. So that's 6 weight points. You don't have to spend one on your ECM pod. So that's why might be helpful, right? To have the C's over the A's. But outside of that, I'm looking at the munitions. They can carry the RN-40s. The other ones cannot. I don't know what an RN-40 is, but they can do the RN-40s. Now, I do have the rule book. I've been looking up these munitions and trying to learn as I go. So like the R's are the anti-air. The K's are the grounds. I have no idea what the RN, is that a Navy one? Might be. So the PLs are the Python missiles. I'm noticing that. Let's see. The RN, oh, those are nuclear. Okay, all right. Yeah, so, okay, those are the bad boys. All right, so, yeah, maybe let's hope we don't have to use those. Okay, so Fulcrum A, Fulcrum C, you can see big stack. What else do we got? We have, so over here on the right, we have these Su-22 fitters, and they have 8 weight points, and the R-60 is not eligible. These are 500 kilograms or less, and then the KHs, it hits a whole bunch of them. We have the 23 and the 25, which are on here. So I'm going to assume that if it says 25, it can do any of the 25s, including the MP and the other variants. I think I did read that in a rule book somewhere, but anyways, that's what I'm going to roll with. So I would use these as bombers, which I think makes sense. So Su-22, there's also the Su-17, which does have a different munitions loadout, but otherwise it's similar. 8 weight points, but it does have the 1360, neither of which we can use. Everything else, they can do some KABs. Looks like they can do a lot more of the KHs. And, they can go nuclear. That's what the RN, I'm learning. RN is nuclear. And they can equip an ECM. I think they all can, so I don't have to worry about that. So yeah, that's the Su-17. And then there's the MiG-25 I also have over here, the Foxbat. And those are R-40, R-60 only, and 4 max. And just so you know, neither of those are eligible for this mission. Oh no, we could do R-60s. we can do our 60s. Oh, yeah. So that makes these guys usable. This guy here comes with 4 R60s. We get to do those. Yeah, so I can use the Landish if I wanted to. It can be an ECM jammer, and those are anti-air missiles. The R40, though, is out. But we could do the R60. Now, this one's 4 max, and look, you gain SO points for these. So it's a nice little anti-air something something. I'm betting that the R60s are trash. Let's look those up. Now that I'm seeing that you get 4 of them and then you gain SO points, they're probably trash. Let's see. I did punch some of them. I just been punching them as I go, like I said. The R60s are... Oh, they're here. I know they are. I just saw a bunch of them. I know I looked these up. Here they are. I just have to flip it over. Okay, so here's some R60s. They're like the AIM 7s. They're actually not bad. So this on the left is R24. That's the one and you need an 8 to hit. The R60, you need to be range 1. That's probably the biggest drawback, because you have to get up close to be able to hit with them. But it hits with a 6. I mean, they're okay. The R24, which is the other side, is not in this particular mission. Or no, they are. They are. So my nomenclature that I like to do is, especially when I'm learning munitions, is I set them side by side like this. So the left, they're both... one's the opposite side of the other. So I pile them up like that so I can see what's on the other side. And I am very appreciative that this is not doing what Eagle Leader did. Like, Eagle Leader would mix and match, like, the opposite side of the R60, in this case, is always R24. It appears that is true for all the tokens. And I can't stress enough that makes your sanity so much better. With Eagle Leader, they just jammed a bunch of stuff, and so then you had things on the other side, and it was a hodgepodge. And so now I can just assume if I pick up an R60, the R24 is on the other side. I like that. I mean, that's the way the components should be. But anyways, I digress. So yes, so we have an opportunity to take some SO points with the Foxbat, and it'll take 4 R60s. On a mission. It has 8 weight points. So those R60s, only 1 weight point each. So what are you doing with the other 4 weight points? I have no idea. I guess you can still take it on long missions. And, ECM pod's going to be one of them. How heavy are the ECM pods in this game? I assume they're just 1 weight point, but I could be wrong. The Russians did do everything weird. Nope, they're just 1. So maybe these R40s are heavy. I don't know. Come on. I'm not finding the R40s anywhere. Maybe they're an expansion. I didn't punch all the expansion stuff either. Yeah, I'm not seeing R40 in the base game. So it might be an expansion somewhere. Let's check. This is a bunch of the PLs, that's the Far East expansion. So that one has the Python missiles. Oh, here's one. Interceptors has the R33s. Now those look awesome. They have a range of 5. And there they are, the R40s. So these are in the Interceptor expansion, the R40s. And yeah, they have 2 weight points on them. Look at that, range 4 missile. Those are nice. So yeah, if you took 4 of those, that would use up. Okay, then moving on from there, we have the mainstays, which is like the equivalent of the AWACS from Hornet Leader. lots of bonuses. Now this is legendary, of course, but air to air, air to ground, ECM. I mean, it does a lot of nice stuff, and 5 SA points. I mean, there's some, it's going to take one of your 12 slots. And I did verify that it does not count as one of your planes on a mission, so it's a free plane. We already talked about the brewer, so these ones are your jammers. They don't carry any actual weapons, though. So again, that's taking up another one of your 12 plane slots. But you get some nice little jamming capabilities. We just verified that we can bring this one, which has some, it's more limited jamming, but the Landish is something that the other one doesn't have available at all. The other one can jam the Hawks, which isn't in this campaign. So yeah, these Su-24s might be a good, but we have to pay for those. So that's one thing to bear in mind. Then, getting those out of the way, we still got to go through all of our ground targets. I took out the naval ones. There's also a few that were not 1991. I took those out. So we're going to just choose from the remainder there. Next up is the Su-27. I do remember us shooting down a lot of these. So these are flankers, and you can see it's a lot of air-to-air on this one, and then a few iron bombs. So I would say this is a fighter, but look, you got to pay to use those, so no wonder they look good. They have 9 weight points, so that's really good. The Fulcrum only has 6. We got the MiG-23 Flogger, the G variant, only 4 weight points. Not a big fan for that reason, and you don't even get SO points. So I would say that if there was any plane in this game that I am not sure I will ever want, it's definitely one of these. Because at least the other ones, I know I'm getting SO points for it. But a 4 weight point plane is pretty weak. I know we took a few in Eagle Leader, but that was because they were Italian and got Italian bonuses, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, not a fan of the Flogger G. And we have several Floggers here. We got the Flogger J, which has 6 weight points, much better, but you have to pay. And that one does carry nukes. They do seem like they are of the bomber variant. And then there's the Flogger H. You don't have to pay for these. They are also 6 weight points. I'm looking to see what the difference is. The J, you have to pay for it. It lets you carry R60s, which are air-to-air. The one on the left carries R35-13s, so they have some motorcycle tires. And this one's the KH-25, that one's the KH-23, so difference there. The KH-23 is trash, by the way. The 25 is nice. Those are the anti-vehicle ones. So I can see why the Flogger J, you might want to pay for those just for ability to shoot the anti-vehicle bombs. The flanker is pure air-to-air. And then we got one more Flogger. We got the Flogger B, which again is only 4 weight points. So it's another set of 4 weight point Floggers. It's like watching the movie Meet the Floggers. Meet the Fockers, right? That was a funny movie, actually. But yeah, so 4 weight points. I'm taking all those out. You do gain SO points for taking those, but not a fan, because if I'm picking these, they're meant to be bombers. You need weight points with your bombers. And I've been holding out because, we had the Aardvarks with our Eagle Leader. You had the Intruders with Hornet Leader. And then this game does have the Primo bombers, and they're called the Su-24s. So we got the Fencer, which is 10 weight points here. Those are air-to-air, and it's 2 max, makes sense. But you're wanting them, look, they can carry up to 1,500 kilograms, and they carry all the KHs, and then nuclear on top of it. So this is your bomber right here. But look at that. You have to pay 12 SO to get that bad boy for 10 weight points. 74 to 91. Okay, so that's one of them, but there's another one. It's the Fencer D, which is 12 weight points. and you still pay the same amount of SO points. So why would I ever choose the lower weight point one? I don't know. Looking at the years, the years are different. This is 81. So if you're before 1981, you can't choose these ones. But okay, so fine, I can carry a few more anti-air. That's not why you pick them. They carry all the good stuff, all the KHs. Yeah, I mean, that's expensive though. 12 SO points. But you can get yourself a bomber there. And the rest, there is no rest. That's it. You've seen them all. So you got the floggers that can, more or less, they're for dropping the iron bombs. They have 6 weight points. Not the greatest. You have the fitters, the SU-17s. Those look like they can drop anything you want, and they have 8 weight points. So they're, I think, pound for pound, just better than the floggers. The MiG-27s and the MiG-23 flogger, they're not that good, to be quite honest. I'm looking at the fitters and just liking them so much more. There might be some subtle thing I'm not picking up on. The floggers have built-in ECMs. That's the difference. With the fitter, you have to equip your own ECM. Okay, that's fair. I mean, so that means you lose a weight point, right? Every time you equip an ECM, you're losing a weight point. So that 8 weight points that I think I'm getting, I'm down to 7, but that's still better than 6. And I'm sorry, because I'm talking so much and you're not seeing anything. This is what I'm talking about. So this guy has no ECM, but see, that one's an 8. If I buy an ECM pod, it's a 6, which is better. So this is 8 weight points, that's 6. The ECM pod's going to take one of those away, puts us down to 7. But you can see, like, they're basically using the same KAB 500L. This is all the KHs. That's only KH25. Although, I'll be honest, the KH25 is the big, important one. But yeah, this does everything that does. And look, you have to pay for this one. Whereas this one is free. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. Why would I pay for an inferior plane like that? Now, there is a flogger that you don't have to pay for, but still, like, I don't have to pay for this one. We talked about this one already because we were like, well, what's the difference between the two? And it was the year. Well, the year, and then also this one can only carry the KH-23. The other one can carry the 25, which is so much more important. So, yeah, I'm leaning towards the floggers not being worth it. But if you need a bomber, the Russian planes here, they don't give you that many choices. You could say that these Fulcrums could be your bomber. These are probably the closest you have to a Hornet, where they can do both air-to-air and air-to-ground. But the air-to-ground is very basic. Interesting. And otherwise, you're forking out the SO points. Now, this particular scenario gives us 42 SO points, so that's generous. Eagle Leader was only giving us 30. And I know this is only standard difficulty, and Eagle Leader on the easier difficulties gave you a little bit more. But even on the expert difficulty, I think they give you some. On skilled, I would get 36. And I'm just pulling up. On expert, yeah, they're giving me 38 on Operation Kavkaz, or Kavraz, however you pronounce that. It's an Egypt mission. I get 38 on that one. And they restrict you to the MiG-19, MiG-21, and SU-7. So I don't know my numbers. So SU-7, MiG-19, MiG-21. Man, that's not even the Fulcrums. You don't even get to use those. Oh, this must be horrible ones, because I'm looking and I don't see. So the MiG-21s are the horrible crappy ones that we took out. The fishnet. MiG-19s are the one weight point ones that are horrible. The MiG-21s. Which ones are the Su-7s though? I know I went through these and probably already put the Su-7s away while we were talking. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, these crappier planes are sometimes the only ones you get to choose from. So, lesson reinforced yet again. I know I just finished talking about this, but it's definitely interesting to see how it's all coming together and what kind of madness the designer was doing in his laboratory here. The only thing that's burning me right now is I don't know what the Su-7s are. I see the MiG-23, I see the MiG-21. I just don't see the Su-7s. Oh, that's because... Oh, hold on. Okay, I might be going mad, but I can't find an Su-7 anywhere for that particular campaign. I even went and looked at the FAQ for this game, and there's no FAQ about the Su-7. However, I did learn a few things. First of all, there's a few typos on some of the pilot names, which in this game, they're all numbers. So I'm not going to remember them, but I know in the back of my head that some of the pilots, the numbers are off. The GCI, so the ground communication, whatever, we're allowed to use the carriers. The designer specifically stated that it doesn't matter which one we use. They all serve a similar purpose. The carriers could just be offshore, coordinating things. It's just an abstract representation of the network that the Soviets use. So we can use anything we want, which the only reason why you would not use the carriers is they're more naval based and they're bonus. And if you're not doing a lot of naval targets, it makes no sense. Totally on board with that. So that clears it up for me. So I don't need to segregate the carriers from anything else. So I'm going to bring those back into my pile of GCI cards. The next thing, that we have here is, I put everything in the Bandit Cup already, but let's look at them again real quick. Obviously we're going to be fighting some planes, but I'm looking more at the ground. See, this is not a radar target, right? So the man pads are not radar. The no sight ones, of course, we don't have to worry about those. The HMG is also not a radar. See, it's a soft target. And then the last one, we got the man pads, the HMGs. There's one other type. Oh, where are you? I can just look. The light AAA is what it's called. These ones. So take note that that's not radar either. Okay. Why is this important? Why am I noting that none of them are radar? Well, this particular munition right here is anti-radar. This is the KH-25MP. So normally in a Hornet Leader type game, the anti-radar missiles are extremely important, right? You need those AGM-88s, and then in the Eagle Leader, sometimes it's the Shrike instead or whatever. But they have those here in this game as well. But I'm pointing these out because none of those are radar, and that's our entire Bandit Cup. there's nothing else in the Bandit Cup. So unless we're fighting a particular target that's going to call out a special type of unit, we're not going to have any radar targets typically in this game. So why is that important? Well, we don't need to equip the KH-25MP with anything. Now, the KH-25 anti-vehicle, that one we might want to do, right? But we don't need to do the MP one. So it might change our minds, like, okay, if I need a bomber, what kind of bomber? Well, I mean, most of the bombers that we need are going to be the iron. We're just going to be dropping iron bombs on everything. So, does that eliminate any of our planes? I don't know. I'm just trying to lay out for you where my thought process is, and at least, if I have to choose between A or B, that's at least going to factor in. The other thing that's going to factor in is the FAQ, well, at least the forums, because I read a few questions in the forums. They did specify that all ECM bonuses stack. So they are cumulative. Obviously, the only thing that wouldn't be is if you had an ECM built in a plane and then you actually took an ECM pod. I mean, that just changes your base. But everything else, like if you have a ground control thing, AWACS, all of those contribute. And then it was funny because somebody else asked the exact same question I did. And Mr. Developer was confused with the question. And I just want him to know that I had this exact same reaction. The guy was like, how do I read this? I got the top part, whereas that guy didn't get the top part either. But this whole bottom part is confusing as all get out to me. And the rulebook doesn't explain it very well. And it doesn't go into Bandit Cup as far as I understand. It's just that these are things that are just used sometimes. I don't have a good explanation for it. I just know that that's what it seems to be. Like, those don't go in the Bandit Cup. And anyways, it's confusing to me, especially since I don't even know where to find a tornado IDS anywhere. Anyways, getting back to this. So we're going to pick 12 aircraft. We're going to pick one ground unit. It's probably not going to be a carrier, even though the carriers look super cool. I just think I'm probably going to pick a bonus that's not a carrier. I am very likely going to spend the 12 SO points to get one of these bad boys for bombing. It just seems like it's necessary. If you're going to bomb, you might as well do it right. The anti-air capabilities are very limited. But we'll see what we can come up with there. I definitely need an anti-air specialist. Also, some of these, like, here's something I'm noticing. Look at this. A -6 air to ground. And Hornet and Eagle Leader, it was -3 to +3 was the spectrum. Look at how bad -6 is. Holy crap. Now, granted, the Fulcrum, I think, was supposed to be an air-to-air specialist anyways, but yeah, they really, there's some really heavy negative numbers on these. Now, the F-16, for example, there were only a few that had good air-to-ground numbers in Eagle Leader, even though the F-16 was one of the best air-to-ground planes in the game. But the pilots were very air-to-air focused, meaning that most of them had air-to-air bonuses on them if they leveled up. I have to study that a little bit as well. I'm getting the sense that the Fulcrum is your air-to-air, the Flogger is more your air-to-ground, and then the Fitter is also air-to-ground. So we can sort of balance it out from that. The Foxbat, I don't even remember what the Foxbat's for. So we'll check on those again, probably air to air, and yeah, we'll try to balance it with that. I won't bore you with the selection details. I will tell you that we are we're an hour and 38 in recording time. I'm easily 3 to 4 hours in actual time I've been sitting here at this desk just getting ready to start this campaign. Some of it is I'm studying. You know, I'm studying the cards. I'm trying to understand the game. I'm not anywhere remotely suggesting it takes this long to set up a game of this. I just I'm studying and I'm trying to just get familiar with all the concepts, and then I'm sharing with you just the interesting tidbits that I figure out as I go. So I will once again pause, and I'll probably put, when I upload this video, we're not going to do any gameplay. We're going to choose our pilots, explain why, end the video, and then the next video will be the actual, we'll start turn 1. Because I'm realizing I'm already an hour and 38 in. And it's going to take me a little bit more. Get these pilots selected, and then we can go from there. But yes, I'm going to be picking 13. We got our Bandit Cup. We're good to go. There's a lot to go through here. I'm probably going to be a little sloppy. I'm a perfectionist when it comes to picking your pilots. To me, this is the funnest part of the game. And so I want to take my time doing it, but at the same time, I want to hurry up and get started. I want to play the game. So that's my internal struggle. But we'll get the pause here, and we haven't even talked about the skills yet, but that's another factor. Anyways, I will be back. Okay, this is a weird mission. It's sort of like the reverse of the NORAD mission we did for Eagle Leader, and of course I was smarter this time and paid attention. Whereas with the NORAD mission, if you recall, I I picked all these bombers, and it was basically primarily all air-to-air. Well, with this one, there's no bandits. So it's primarily air-to-ground. And it's going to stay that way until it gets to here. So what causes this thing to move? It says that if the target card causes it to move, it'll move. And then, of course, here there's special rules that it'll move if we don't hit a target. But to be quite honest, I don't see it moving very often. If we destroy a nuclear target, that also moves it. Because if you'll notice, once it gets to the end, there's a U.S. strike, and that's game over. So, like, it's meant to be like an escalation of nuclear war, if you will. So this moving to the right is a precarious thing, and it doesn't happen with every mission. So, so I think we're going to spend almost the entire game in just this first zone, and it says all targets in this range band have the friendly fire trait. I don't even know what that trait is. 1 second. Each air-to-ground weapon attack against this target which fails to hit the attacking pilot takes a stress. I'm going to have to remember that. Okay, so, and that's not a new one. That's actually been, it's just we don't see it very often. So we're going to be doing those in the first band, and we're not going to be drawing bandits. So even though the card's going to say draw bandits, we're not going to. So it's going to be, I mean, I did pick a standard difficulty, so I guess it's an easier mission. Like, I'm feeling like, where's the challenge in this? So the challenge has, you know, I'm at like 4+ hours just getting all my pilots selected. So let me go through what I did to select my pilots. We're going to have to pick our Zampolit and leader. And then we're going to do some skills. So let's start with, so let me go through the campaign setup and make sure I'm not missing any steps here. It's a little bit into the rule book. Here we go. So choose our campaign and special option points. All right, we got that. We're starting with 42 SO points. We placed our counters. We set up our card decks. We selected our 12 aircraft. I still need to decide who's skilled, who's veteran, all that jazz. It tells us that the Warsaw Pact aircraft can be included, even though they're different nations. So yeah, I have all the expansions, so that gives me a lot more choices. sometimes the more choices is a burden. um, the MiG-29 Fulcrum is the baseline quality. It's just letting you know that sometimes you'll pay more or get some back. Yeah, and then we're gonna have to select our CO. So let's go through the pilots I've selected, figure out their starting skills, and then we'll continue with the rulebook from here. All right, so if it's okay, I'm gonna push this up. I'm gonna bring this a little bit forward, and you know what? I don't know if I am gonna push it up. I've been using this as like my loadouts for my pilots, but let's bring this over to here. There we go. All right. So we'll use the board here as our base for operations. Okay, let's start with our CGI. And I'm going to say that wrong the whole game, aren't I? The ground control, the GCI. So this one, I chose Ravnets. There were some better ones that I liked more, but for this mission, I like this one a lot. And reason saying is, this one gives an air-to-ground bonus of +1. Normally, I would take something with an air-to-air bonus, because not being able to shoot down bandits is the most miserable feeling. And then, of course, an ECM bonus of 1. It starts on average. I don't get a say in the matter. And, it's going to take a whopping 16 experience points for him to level up. So it's Raynets. And I might as well write that one in, because I don't have my pilots written down either. So Raynets, and he's starting at average. Okay, so going to take a long time. There is a skill that says when they level up, you can get half the experience points of the next level. I'm very strongly considering giving that skill to my ground guy, because they're all like this, by the way. It's not just this guy. So it's 16 to level up, and then he becomes skilled, and then it's 18 more, then it's 18 more at veteran. And if by some miracle he became legendary, he would ignore all events with a 9 or better, air-to-air +1, air-to-ground +2, and an ECM bonus of 1. Now, why did I say I like some of the other ones better? Some of them have an ECM bonus of +3. So, like, the ECM's awesome. Or the air-to-air bonus is +2, and you can ignore an event on a 5 or better. So yeah. With that said, my next one is Monocle. And give me a second, I'm going to write that in, Monocle. And what this guy is, this is, I went with the AWACS. The 5 SA points is too juicy for me. Being able to give those out. Although there's no bandits in this one, so now I'm taking it because I just want to try it. But anyways, I got to figure out what level to start him at. I don't know that part. But at Legendary, he ignores an event on a 5, air-to-air is +2, air-to-ground is +1, ECM is another +1. So I think this guy, I'm pretty safe. So we're looking at 12 experience. And then at the skilled level, it's another 8 for 20. And then at average is 27. 27 is an expensive guy. But if I do start him at average, I still get an air-to-air bonus, not that great. But I do get 3 SA points still. And I have to pay 6 SO for this guy. So you could argue this is not worth it, especially for this mission. And I don't think I would even put up much of an argument. It's just that, I don't know, I want to try him. Now, the only thing I'm considering is if I make him a skilled, he'll obviously have a better chance of going legendary, but look at this. He gets an air-to-ground +1. So having an air-to-ground +1, those are cumulative as well. He can really help our bombers, but I'm going to keep him at average because I think I'm going to need the other guys. All these pilots, by the way, and I'm sure there's somebody who promotes in less than 20 skill points. And if I sat down and did my usual spreadsheet, which would be hours and hours more, I'm sure I can find them. But these guys are like 30 experience points to get the legendary, which is ridiculously high if you're looking at it from an Eagle or Hornet Leader perspective. But there are things like, promote a pilot, which was one of the loyalty band things. And it doesn't matter how many experience points it costs. You just get to promote a pilot. So there's a part of me thinking that maybe that's the reason why some of the prices are jacked up on leveling up. I think the designer realized that there's ways to level up that's not just hardcore, earning it the hard way. So anyways, I'm choosing him to be one of our average. Next up, so he costs 6 SO points, right? Well, now I have 2 of them that are going to get us 3 SO points back. So what I have here is I have Spectre 601. So I'm just writing it down. Spectre 601 and Monocle was 902. I forgot they all have numbers. So Spectre 601 is going to get us 3 SO points. And what this is he's a MiG-25, and he can only carry R-60s, which are crappy one-range missiles, and only 4 of them. Now, the FAQ does say that they can carry ECM pods. All of them can, even if it's not listed. So with 8 weight points, he's going to be able to load up 4 of those at 1 weight point each and an ECM pod, and that's it. He's a pure air-to-air guy, and we're going to make him our noob. I'm not relying on them for anything. I'm choosing him for the 3 SO points. So I got him. Then I have another one, Spectre 606. Same deal, 3 SO points, and he's going to be one of our greenies. So we're making these the lowest promoted people. And the reason being is I don't even have bandits coming out, and I have 2 pure anti-air. And you might wonder, why are you choosing anti-air if this is not an anti-air mission? Well, some of it is because I want the newbie and the greenie. And I wanted to get some SO points. I could have taken a bomber and gotten SO points. Remember those 1 weight point guys? We could have gotten 9 SO points, in fact. But what that did is that paid for the AWACS. Okay, next one. I have this guy. He can take stress. The Fuzzle was the beans. I'm going to always remember that now. This one's useless because we don't go up against any Hawks. The Serena is the -1 to everybody in the area. And I already forgot what Bouquet does. It's the bouquet. I remember that's the translation, but I don't remember what it does. I think, it reduces the range of all radar sites, which remember, there's no radar sites either. So again, you might be saying, why are you taking one of these? There's no Hawk sites. There's no radar sites. All you have is Serena. I get it. I just wanted to try one. So with that said, I'm going to make him my greenie because... and of course, at green, he doesn't even have what we need, right? We don't use either of those, the bouquet or the Fuzzle. So maybe we got to make him average. But I got to make somebody greenie. And he does require a lot of experience points to level up. This is not an easy one to level up. So maybe he's going to be more helpful to us if I actually... I would have to move him up to at least average, it looks like. Yeah, at average, I would at least have Serena. Sure, I'll make this one average. We got to find a greenie somewhere. I just don't know where. So that's Topaz 702. And that one's going to be average. Yeah, very large argument that that might be a waste of a slot. But to be honest, since air-to-air is not a big thing, I had plenty of slots. So let's move to the bomber squad. So first one up is I went with the fitter. I don't know what these SU-17s are pretty good in my book. They have 8 weight points. Obviously at legendary, he's got some really nice stats. So we gotta at least do average for these guys. So at average, it's a 0-0, and I might be cool with that. I get to do 1 veteran and 2 skilled. Let's just set everybody at average for now, and then figure out who's going to be veteran and skilled. But I'll leave that one at average. And actually, some of it is how much it's going to cost to level up. So you can see that's 10. And that's another 6 for 16. And then at skilled, that's 9 more for 25. 25 to go from average. I mean, these are ridiculously expensive. So now I got another guy, same deal. Another SU-17. So we'll go ahead and move him to average. He's also a 0-0 at average. His experience points needed would be 12 plus 9. His is actually really good. He should stay at average. And then we have another one. I have an SU-22 fritter instead of an SU-17. But same deal, 8 weight points, 3 air to ground, really good air to ground. At average, it's going to be plus 1 air to ground, so average skill on this one is really good. And then I got another one, an SU-22. You can see the legendary skill's really good. At average, it's a 0-0. So, yep, a lot of averages. Playing a game of averages. All right, now we're going to talk about the ones I'm probably going to skill up a little bit. I already talked about him. The next one, I'm spending 12 SO points to get one of these big boys, 12 weight point bombs. So I'm going all in, and then you can see he has a plus 3 air to ground and all kinds of awesome stats if he's fully leveled up. And I want to make him at least a veteran or skilled. You can see 8 experience points at veteran, 16 if skilled. That's a plus 2. If I drop him down to skilled, it's plus 1. Let's do at least skilled for now. I still get to pick a veteran somewhere. And then I'm doing another one for 24 more points, or 12 more points. So we got another one, also awesome skills. And again, here you can see the veteran is 12, and that's 11, so that's ridiculous. So I'm gonna make this guy my veteran, and I couldn't be happier. So we have 4 regular bombers, and then 2 awesome bombers. So I got 6 out of my 12 squad. And I have an AWACS and an ECM jammer taking up 2 more for 8. So as you can tell, and then I got 2 pure air-to-air guys that I basically neutered. But that then gets us to the final point, which is I have 2 Fulcrums. So I went with a regular Fulcrum A. This guy, I don't know my country flags. What would you think that would be? I don't know. But anyways, this particular guy is fast, really great air-to-air. We could still have one more veteran, which I don't know if it's going to be these guys, because since they're my air-to-air guys, I'm going to neuter one of these. So like this one is 8, 16, and 4 is 20, and then that's 23. So I'm going to make this my other green. So we're going to make Bolt 1301 green. That's actually a really good one for leveling up. And then last but not least is another Fulcrum. And again, great stats at fast. This one is a Russian one, of course, instead of whatever that other country was. And I am not going to make this a veteran. I'm going to bump him down to average because, again, it's an air-to-air guy, and I don't know how often we're going to use him. But I'll at least make him average, and then we'll figure out the veteran thing. Because I need to have one more veteran. I got 2 greens. I got my newbie. I just need to add one more veteran because I made a skilled. And I think I might do, since I paid the 12 SO points, I might make, nope, but he's already, I'm sorry, I need one more skilled, not a veteran. I need a skilled pilot. I can do that with another bomber, but I'm actually thinking of either the AWACS or the jammer, just because the AWACS is actually a really good one to have promoted up. I get to ignore events on a 7, and I get, well, I mean, the air-to-air bonus is not as helpful, but actually, no, I get the air-to-ground bonus. Yeah, I'm going to make him skilled. So let me change that. So monocle is going to be skilled, and there we go. All right, so if we're talking SO points now, I have my 2 big bombers, the Su-24s. It looks like Susie, but it's Su-24. It just spent 24 points, 12 points each. The AWACS was 6, and then the, what are those called? The MiG-25s, that gave me a +6. It was +3 times 2. So those 6s cancel out. And then I'm just looking to see, did I pay for anything else? And the answer is no. I went freebie. Now there was a really nice Fulcrum C that I was looking at. There was some really nice Su-27s, the flankers, but they all cost SO points, and I just, again, I don't need more air-to-air, so I was a little bit like, I can go cheaper with them. So basically, it's 42 minus 24, so that basically gets me to, let's see, 24, 34 is 10, and 6 more is 8 more, so I have 18. So I can get some skills now, and 18 will let me get a lot of skills. Okay, let me pause and figure that out. Okay, so we have 18 points. I'm going to spend 15 and have 3 left over, but there's a lot of tough choices with this one. So let me just say that Eagle Leader has better skills. Sorry, Doug. I like the skills in Eagle Leader a bit more. But with that said, the Zampolit skills are interesting. And I don't know what the right strategy is, so we're going to just try something. I could be wrong. So the first one, let's start with the regular skills. The first one I got is Famous. You remember this one from Eagle Leader. I mentioned it already. When somebody levels up, they get half of their next experience points. I can just cash it at any time. I'm giving that to my GCI. I could be dumb. Like maybe the GCI doesn't need all those things, but with it needing 20 experience points to get to the next level, there's no better person to give it to. But that cost me 3 points. So I'm going to have 3 left over to start the mission. So with that said, sorry, I'm writing things down. Okay, so the next one I have is Indomitable. This is +1 cool, and I'm giving that to Monocle, our AWACS plane, because he currently has 0 cool. And I have another Indomitable, which I don't technically need. It's nice to give it to somebody. My greenies and my newbies have 0 cool because they're just such a low level, but they will go up to better cool once they level up. I'm going to give it to Topaz, our stress guy, the one who takes stress in order to give us ECM jamming. So I'm going to give it to him. And that's just the lesson learned from Eagle Leader. If their primary function in the game is to take stress to help others, we might as well give him an extra cool so he can remove as much stress as possible. And then there's the Zampolit. So there's a couple of things here. First of all, we have to pick who our CEO is going to be. So commanding officer is immune to anything that the Zamplet card tells us to do. Somebody can't fly on a mission because the Zamplet's, pulling some kind of loyal thing. Whoever I give this to is immune. So I was going to give it to Monocle 902, largely because I want that AWACS to go with us on as many missions as possible. So that means the commanding officer will be on as many missions as possible. The other constraint is it has to be one of your skilled or better pilots. So we only have 3 pilots to choose from. We got our AWACS, and then we have our 2 12-weight point bombers. And I don't know, actually, to be honest, the 12-weight point bombers are probably not a bad idea to put a CO on one of those to make them immune to any legal shenanigans. So I will put it on our veteran. Why not? So he's the CO. Now the Zamplet, the rules gives us a choice. We could just select one to be the Zamplet, or we can take all of their pilot tokens, put them in a cup, and draw one randomly. I have not bothered to find the pilot tokens yet, so I guess I could do that. Do I care who the Zamplet is? I don't know. I don't know what those cards do. So it might be, those cards might, the Zamplet gets this or the Zamplet whatever. You could theoretically give the Zamplet to one of our newbie planes and just never fly them. I think the only constraint is I can't give it to the ground control guy. So I don't know. The Zamplet does not need to be of any skill or rank. It just needs to be one of our pilots. So yeah, let's just do this randomly. I'm gonna go. I have to find all their tokens anyway, so let me do that. Okay, so really interesting. A lot of them were base game. However, these MiG-25s that I'm using for pure air-to-air and SO points, those came from the Interceptors expansion, which is one of the ones that has the special rules. Then the Lance 021 came from Warsaw Pact 1. And the Lance is which guy? That's one of the Su-22s, so one of the bombers. And it's a Warsaw Pact 1, so you can see the special flag for him. So he came out of the Warsaw Pact. And then Ringmail also, excuse me, that came out of Warsaw Pact number 2. So let's see, Warsaw Pact 1. It doesn't say what the countries are. Dang it. Okay, well, anyways, Warsaw Pact 1, Warsaw Pact 2, they were both similar planes, the Su-22s. Nope, one was the Su-22, the other one was a MiG-20 something. And then the Spectres, Spectre 601, 602. Oh, we talked about those. Those came from the Interceptor one. And then the my bombers that I love, Gauntlet. Those came from the Northwestern Edge expansion. So at this point, Northwestern Edge is like winning the lottery to me, because those pilots with the 12 weight points are freaking awesome bombers. And the Northwestern, like doing any mission without them it feels cheap now. So anyways, and everybody else was base game. So we got, I do have other cups, but I'm gonna just, because this is not that formal of a thing. So I'm just gonna do this, and then one of them is gonna drop. And that is Garnet 441, which, bingo. Okay, that's one of our low-level bombers. So he's the Zamplet. He's the jerk. All right, so Garnet 441 goes there. And then we have Garnet 446. And I did get one of the ones that the FAQ talked about. So we have Topaz 702, which is one of our one of these guys. Then we have Lance 021, which is one of the defects. So see that says Lance 021? It's really supposed to be Lance 121. But the good news is there is no 021 in the game. So it's not like you get them that confused. I remember people being really upset in the forums over that. And it's like, come on. I'd be upset if there was truly two different ones. Like there was a Gonzalez spelled easy at the end and a Gonzalez with a OZ or something, or ES at the end. That's what it was. That confused the crap out of me, and that was an Eagle Eater. All right, Spectre 601 is this guy. Gauntlet 624 up here. And then Onyx 101. It's way up there in the corner. Don't put Onyx in the corner. Gauntlet 622. Ringmail 441. It's one of these guys. There you go. Bolt 1301. Spectre 606. And Monocle. All right. So I don't believe I have tokens for the ground guys. So, because the ground guys really don't go on the mission board. Okay, so now with that said, we got to talk about the Ziplet skills. I have 3 picked, but I can only choose 2. So this is the dilemma. So Celebrated, I really like this one because when he's on a mission and the target is destroyed, we get an extra victory point. So you know me, I'm all about getting those victory points because I want my A+ score. I don't know, Mr. Designer, did you do this like Eagle Leader where you made the scores impossible? Unless you chose that one specific card that gave you an extra victory point every mission. Which I still to this day don't like about Eagle Leader. It's my #1 peeve with it. Did you do that to us here? And I have to take this if I want to get the A+ score. If I don't take this, then I'm screwing myself. That's the question, right? Next is Ardent. Ardent is if he flies the mission and the target is destroyed and nobody, is shot down, I get to move loyalty 1 space to the right. So that's regardless of how this moves the loyalty. So I thought that would be really good for playing our little game of moving the loyalty thing around. And then the last one is Commissar. I am going to start the game with 3 SO points. This says that if I successfully destroy a target, I expend it. And you know I don't like expends. But this one's a special one. I can expend it and get 9 SO points. So I'm spending 3 to get 6 more. Well, to get 9, but it's for a net gain of 6. Why would I do that? Well, I mean, some of it is we haven't really talked about the special weapons, but I might want them. I don't know how brutal these event cards are going to be. Like, am I going to have to spend SO points all the time? If my loyalty goes to the left, I actually have to pay SO points. I'm going to gain SO points if I move the loyalty to the right. So I'm leaning towards, I'm going to take Ardent and that. And even though this is a cool little doodad, I think I can use my loyalty thing to get SO points instead of this. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to give Mr. Garnet here Celebrated and Ardent. He's our jerk. Now, the victory point question. We need 44 to be great. Here's the original 12 cards that are in the first zone. 2, 3, 5, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 17, 19, 21, 24. That's all we have is 24. I'm supposed to get the 44? Come on. All right, I know there's more targets in those other regions. I don't know how I'm going to unlock those other regions, but there are more targets. But this is 24 points max if I successfully destroy every target. So now let's look at the other regions. So I got another pile here. These are the ones we unlock. 27, 30, 33, 36, 39, 42, 45. So 47 possible points, assuming I unlock these, which I still think is a big assumption, but these are the bigger victory point cards. That's for sure. So designer knew what he was doing. How do I move that ops? That's the magic question. I am pretty sure that none of the target cards move the ops. See? There's nothing that moves ops. The only thing that moves ops is the campaign says if I take a target and I just don't hit it or suppress. So basically I spend a day doing nothing, which is odd because if I spend a day doing nothing, I'm not getting victory points. I do not know of any other way that moves it, except for maybe the events might move it and the Zamplet cards might move it. So we'll have to play it out and see. That or this is just a really goofy campaign and I shouldn't have picked this one first, but it's okay. I know one viewer in particular gets very angry when I go into my... And see, I'm not even a type A personality, but when I play a game, I want to win. And so I'm not happy getting less than 44 if that's what the goal is. I want to figure out how to get 44. That's the joy of me playing games. And is it a big deal if I don't get to 40? No, it's not a big deal at all. But it's just, I still want to do it. So anyways, I know for a fact that we're going to have to move that ops thing and unlock. And I noticed there was a lot of air-to-air missions once we unlock. So I'm glad I took some air-to-air pilots, even though they're not necessary in the beginning. So there you have it. We talked about the game. We went over a lot of the components. We talked about setup, which was very painful. Just going through the bandit tokens. Although I think I do have something I think I figured out. If you look at the sites and just store those separately. So all the man pads are one group of tokens. All of the heavy machine guns are another group of tokens. Like if you look at the sites and sort them that way, I don't think it's that big of a deal to do setup. Initially, I'm going to have to go through all those to do that separating. But when I punched all the tokens, I didn't know like how I was supposed to sort them. But now that I've done it and been through the process, that is for sure the way to go. And yeah, it's going to take a few baggies to do, but that's no big deal. All right, so we will start on the next video on turn 1. And let's get this going. Fulcrum Leader. Thanks for watching. Stay awesome.